Hello there, and welcome to the Marseille View. My name's Stefan, and I'm presenting tonight. And tonight I'm joined by Ed. Hi, Ed.
Right, Steph.
Hiya. Also joined by Luca.
Hi everyone.
Hi, Luca. And finally, we've also got a first appearance from Q. Hi, Q.
Hi everyone, how's it going?
Great, hi. So Q, do you want to just tell us a little bit about yourself and your relationship with OM?
Yeah, sure. So I was actually born in Marseille, a bit more than 30 years ago, and I kind of grew up there until the sweet age of 20 when I moved to Paris for a few months, and then London after that. But very much grew up at a time where Marseille were winning everything, the good old days. My dad went to the Munich Stadium for the Champions League final, and I just remember being a kid and watching the game in the living room. My mum let me stay up that day, and I think that's how it started really. And after that, he went to shit a bit. Sorry, go on.
It sounds like a good family connection, being at the
Yeah,
1993 final, yeah.
Yeah, my dad's actually from Paris, but he moved to Marseille some 40 years ago or so. And he became a Marseille fan, and then, like, started taking me to the stadium. I first started going to the League Two games, so other stadiums in the region, so like Nîmes and places like that, Martigues and all that. And it kind of grew on me, but at the time, everyone was a Marseille fan. You would go to school, primary school, whatever, and all the kids would be talking about Marseille, what happened at the weekend, and stuff like that. Just like, it was part of our lives. And I think everyone from my generation in Marseille absolutely love Marseille. I say that because now when you go to Marseille, sadly, you see some guys wearing like PSG shirts and stuff, which is a real shame.
Oh, really?
It's gone to shit. Well,
Yeah, you see
I
a lot
haven't
of
seen that. Oh, that's shocking.
no, but back in the days, it would never happen. I tell you what, and now I see it more and more. But yeah, that's how it started for me. I've been to the French Cup finals that we lost against Sochaux, against Paris as well, which we should have won really. And last year I went with three of my mates. We went to Lyon to the final against Atletico. I've been in the UK for 10 years, and what links me back to Marseille is that text chat I have with my friends. And every time Marseille are playing, we just have some sort of banter going on, talking about the game, talking about shit they are, or and this sort of thing. So yeah, it's very much. I think when I wanted to join the podcast, I sent you a message saying I bleed white and blue, and I think that's very much true.
Yeah, sounds like you've been to some pretty massive games. That's brilliant. Right, so what we're going to do tonight is much like last week and the week before. We follow the same format. So we're going to have a look at last weekend's game. So that was Le Classique against Paris Saint-Germain. And we'll also look forward to Marseille's next match up against Angers. And we'll look at any sort of news stories that have come up over the last week. And we'll also take a few questions from listeners that were sent in via Twitter. So, I think we'll get started with last night's game against Paris Saint-Germain. So, guys, what did you make of the result and the performance?
Yeah, I think if you go back just before the game started, you could see throughout the days just before there wasn't a lot of excitement on social media and from the media about the game. You didn't really know that it was a classique before the game, and I was so happy with that because I've been so tired over the years with kind of acting as sparring partners to PSG and just like basically getting battered just for them to gain confidence because of their own poor performances in Europe. And I think one of my main points, if you look into the game, what happened, is I just want to stop this narrative where people say in Marseille that the only reason why we can never beat PSG is because PSG wake up to beat Marseille, or they wake up in the morning differently. And they just don't anymore. They don't care. They're full of players who are Brazilians and Argentinians who have never heard of Marseille before. And when you've seen them on the pitch, then they're not impressive. They were not impressive last night. They played their B team. They played Dagba. They had Choupo-Moting on the bench, and he started in a starting lineup. And it's so disheartening. Every game with Marseille, we play the part. and then we make a mistake, and it always looks like PSG is beatable, but we just psych ourselves out of the game by just saying, oh, they're just better than us, they're better than us, they're better than us, and it ends up by making stupid mistakes like last night.
Absolutely. It very much feels like it's psychological, doesn't it? It feels like we don't feel like we're worthy of winning a game like that.
Sorry, I slightly disagree with that comment, actually. I think when you're a Marseille player or a Paris player, you know that the big games are against, say you're a Marseille player, you know the big games are against Paris, Lyon, Bordeaux, Nice, you know, because you can feel the intensity and the pressure from the fans. So even though you were not born in Marseille, you're not even French or whatever, you still feel that. You feel that passion. And I think Paris had a bit of pressure on them. They knew they had to win, especially since they got kicked out of the Champions League by Man U. They knew that pressure was on and they had to win that game. And they played them. I mean, yeah, they played with some of the B team, fair enough. But the performance that Mbappe and Di Maria put on last night was just really impressive. These guys were willing to win. But I do agree with you on the point that we were not in to win it, and that's a real shame. At one point, I think they were a man down. They were doing a replacement, and it took forever. And we're just like comfortable passing the ball around, passing it back and stuff. I just like, you guys need to take your chances. It's just like a bunch of, sorry, excuse my French, but it's a bunch of pussies playing. Just at one point, someone needs to man up and just, take ownership and just really go for it. And I think we're going to talk about that later. But the 11 starting players that Garcia put down, I think was not right. You need guys with a bit of character. You need the Luis Gustavo and the Kevin Strootmans of this world.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it's a shocking lineup, but was anyone really surprised? Garcia spent the last 5 games picking the same lineup, not because of tactics or tactical choices, just because they won the last game, even though there were clear weaknesses against Nice and Saint-Etienne that we highlighted in this podcast. But you just knew that Garcia would put the same lineup, including the same substitutions, because at 2-1, just before Mandanda got sent off, I don't know if you realized, but before he got sent off, Strootman was about to come on for Balotelli. He was about to make the same change. About to make the same change against Nice. That clearly didn't work last time, but because we ended up winning, just do it anyway. Like, was anyone really surprised at the lack of ambition that Garcia put on the pitch? And it showed in the gameplay, like you said, when Meunier got injured, there were 5 minutes, 10 players, and they gave us the ball, and then it goes to Thauvin, back to Sarr, back to Mandanda for some reason, back to Kamara, back to Mandanda, kicks it, hoofs it to Balotelli, who loses the ball. It's like you take advantage of this small amount of chances that you have, but they were clearly happy with a 1-0 loss. They were signing on for that.
Have you got any thoughts on the game, Ed?
Well, I've been waiting to unleash them. I've got to say as is. We were fucking shit. Simple, really. I just think PSG, they were on a psychological low. They've been dumped out by Man United's C team. We should have put it up to last night, and we should have said, right, we're going to give you a game. Where was Balotelli? Where were they all? I mean,
what about Thauvin? Thauvin was nowhere to be seen.
Thauvin was nowhere. Mandanda was shite. Sakai was irrelevant. This so-called top centre-back partnership we've got, they look like clowns. I'm really fucked off, to be honest with you. I'm really. It's another shit result.
I mean, I agree. I told you before the podcast that I'll be all negative. You actually ended up being more negative than me. I actually think that our centre-back partnership was not all bad. I think apart from the red card incident, I think they played the right way, and they never really got like holes punched through them. The first goal and the first disallowed goal, it's always Sakai or Sarr that covered the offside trap that they tried to put in. And I always thought they played it quite well. But, I mean, it comes back to I don't think it's about the youngsters. It's about the leaders, like you said, Q.
Yeah, I agree.
Sanson, even Balotelli now, that's acting like, for some reason, he's acting like he won the Champions League in 1993 as he's showing it. And Mandanda and Thauvin. And it's just like, well, where are you guys? You're supposed to be leaders, and Thauvin's not young anymore. Thauvin's 27. He had the fucking captain's armband at some point, and he's walking on the pitch.
Well, we have we have a phrase for this in England. Balotelli thinks he's Bertie Big Bollocks after scoring a few tap-ins. I think he just exuded arrogance, and it was the wrong stage to show it. Mate, we're fourth in the league. We're chasing Leon. We're not 10 points in front with 2 games in hand. Stop acting like you're in City and you've got Aguero and co to fall back on. You haven't. You've got bloody Maxi Lopez and Luis Gustavo. Not exactly world class, are they?
I'm disappointed, but I don't think it was all bad. At one point, I thought we were playing all right. It's just we ended up lacking a bit of spirit, maybe. But the first 30 minutes, I thought we were looking good. I thought we could get something out of the game, and then it just all fell apart for some reason.
But how much was that because of us, and how much was that because of PSG being in the dumpster in terms of mentality, with their fans being on strike? Is that really because of our tactic that we looked good in 30 minutes, or was it because PSG just wanted to not get humiliated at home?
They didn't want to get humiliated at home. That's simple. Can you imagine if they lost the Le Classique to us? I mean, the L'Equipe paper, Le Parisien, they would have gone hell for leather on Tuchel's arse.
Well, yes. So it's not really props to us for playing good in the first half an hour, and keeping the ball and passing it back to Mandanda isn't playing well. I don't think so. Well, you have chances. They were scrappy at the back. They kept every time you put a bit of pressure, they did lose the ball a few times, and we still just had lacked any ambition to score.
They wet themselves. We just wet ourselves. Simple. As soon as the ultras came back in, they cracked themselves. And then I think what we saw last night was Mandanda's worst ever game. I think he nearly scored an own goal early on, and then he got sent off. I mean, it's a pretty terrible performance from a guy who's nearly 40 and had so much experience. It's disappointing.
Have you noticed that this year it seems like a lot of the mistakes he's made have been when he's had to come out from his box, and he keeps doing it, and every time he's going to bring the person down or do something, and it's becoming a real issue. I don't know how I've lost count how many times this season that he's come out and given away a penalty or something.
Yeah, it's crazy. Do you remember the days where we used to think, it's all right, we've got Mandanda at the back, we can lose the ball in the midfield. The other team can have corners, whatever. It's gonna be fine. We've got Mandanda. But these days, every time there's a ball, passed back to him, I shit my pants. I'm just like, why is he gonna do this? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's Do you remember in 2016 with the Mitchell season, just before he left the first time? We were saying, oh my, if Mandanda wasn't here, would we actually be relegated or not? That's how many points he earned us. And now you're looking at it, and not only is he not earning us points, he's single-handedly losing games on his own.
I agree. Yeah. It needs to go.
Yeah, it does. It does seem like that, doesn't it? It seems like his time is done at this level.
It's been done for a while, and he's delusional. He's delusional. He keeps having arguments with the fans. He cried and begged to have that captain armband, as if it was suddenly going to make him better. And for some reason, we gave it to him, even though he's clearly not a leader. Do you remember the final against Atletico? He threw Zambo under the bus after in an interview, saying that was all his fault. And so you give it back to him. He gets sent off. He gives the captain's armband to Thauvin, who walks on the pitch and doesn't even come to Strootman's defense when Mbappe tells him to fuck off. And then he comes off and you give the captain's armband to Sanson, arguably the worst player on the pitch. What kind of leaders do you have in your team?
Can I defend Thauvin on this? If, let's say, Strootman had retaliated to Mbappe and got himself sent off, we would have been down to 9, and then it would have been a rout.
Yeah.
What you think he would have got sent off for defending his teammate who's getting told to fuck off? I think he's looking at the incident, and he knows that Mbappe is his best mate in a French team, and he's going to meet him tomorrow, and he doesn't want to not be bestie with him anymore. So he's just letting him go and acting like he didn't hear it.
First mistake is to make him captain. He doesn't have the leadership that's required to be Marseille's captain. I
don't think he wants to be either.
No.
But Lucas, you know how inconsistent the French referees are. They'll send someone off just for saying F off. So
but then you can't just not defend your teammates now just because of that. Ocampo has held his balls when Kimpembe slapped him in the face.
Just get on with it. Get on with the game. Take him out. Just do your job. Stop retaliating and just try and gets back in the game. That's what I would have just said.
Yeah.
Okay, well then, either way
I
you
thought-
slice it, Thauvin still has done nothing.
Fuck
Can I
the
just say I
national,
thought
fuck
the
the
refs
national
were
team
right
for a
last
sec.
night.
Well, yeah.
Right. So, I mean, that actually was one of the things I wanted to ask about was Florian Thauvin. It seems like he is continually flopping in big games, or at least that's what the narrative seems to be. Do you feel that that's the case?
Oh, it's a mixed bag of Turvan. I mean, he turned up. He was the only one who turned up in the Lyon game at the Parc OL. But it's just, I don't know. It's just you get Turvan. It's like the weather. One day it's nice and sunny. Next day it's pissing down with rain and everyone wants to die. That's the kind of that's Turvan for you.
But I think people are this whole narrative about Thauvin not being good in big games. I don't think it's necessarily true because when you look at his stats, he does scores. I think Thauvin in big games is like Thauvin in small games. Thauvin scores, right? He scores or gives assists, but in the actual build-up or in the play, he doesn't have that work rate to actually contribute to the team.
Yeah.
So I think Thauvin in big games is just like Thauvin against Nice, just like Thauvin against Saint-Etienne, just like Thauvin against who played before Amiens. It's a lot of walking around. And it's a lot of trying, but I'm sorry, he's just not good enough to reach that next level. And like I've literally made a note of the last left wing back that he's had to face in the last couple of games, and they've been Kurzawa,
Who's shit?
Jallet,
Yeah.
and Poloma. Tell me one successful take on that Thauvin did in those 3 games.
Yeah, I think that actually
Eating them alive.
the fact that he was up against Kurzawa last night, and Kurzawa hasn't played an awful lot this season, and he's not been a very great player for PSG over the last couple of seasons. It's just, I mean, to me, Kurzawa is the kind of player that Marseille should have targeted to try and put pressure on, because he isn't a great defender, and he was not under any pressure at all from Thauvin the whole night, and that's really, really worrying that we couldn't even target PSG's weakest links.
Because Thauvin is just the same old thing. It's a lot of walking, but I think it's just his gameplay now. He wants the ball on his feet and try to get on his left foot to obviously bend that left top corner. But it's like Thauvin in big games is not worse than usual. That's just who he is now. That's just who he is.
Yeah. Talking about team selection as well, a couple of more questions just to run by you. Last week we talked about whether we all felt that Sakai should play instead of Jordan Amavi at left back, which he did. Do you think that was the right decision? Do you think Sakai played well, or would you have preferred Amavi to be in?
I say it was bad last night. I say he played terribly. Obviously the penalty at the end, but his marking was not on point. Made a few easy mistakes. Obviously he's playing on this weak foot, so that doesn't help. But I thought, because you would only have, a few opportunities, you need someone with left-footed on the left wing to just be able to, cross the ball from deep as well. I thought Amavi would have been a much better choice. And the last few displays from Amavi were actually quite decent, considering he's been absolutely shocking for earlier in the season. I can't remember the last few games before he got sent off. I thought he was, kind of almost getting there.
No, I agree. Yeah, there was one game when he was back to his old self.
It was, wasn't it? So I say it would have been the timing was right. I would have put Sakai on the right and Amavi on the left, but hey, I'm not the manager, so.
Well, that's what's going to happen. I think, isn't it next game that Sakai is suspended now? Because he picked up a yellow. So I think that's what we're going to see next time. We're going to see Amavi back in the left back position and Sarr back in the right back position and see how it goes.
Yeah.
But going back to the game, Sarr and Sakai, I don't think there was communication at all with the centre back, because centre backs always try to play the offside trap because they knew they can't compete with Mbappe at the foot race anyway. But Sarr on the first disallowed goal tried to cover Di Maria onside. On the red card, he covered him, and on the second goal, Di Maria's first goal, Sarr was covering again. There was just not good communication of the back line, and it really showed. And I think it really put Sarr and Sakai's kind of like the fact they're uncomfortable at these positions, or they're not like experts at those positions. It really was exposed today.
Yeah,
I think it shows the fact that Sarr is not a defender. I think there's a lot of flaws in his game. It's just he hasn't quite, picked up all the all the tricks that you need to master as a defender. It's just his positioning is not quite right. But the thing is, like, he's meant to be an offensive player, but every time he kind of goes forward, I think his passing is a bit poor as well. His crossing never gets to the target. I don't know. Everyone is raving on about him, and there's that big conversation about him making it to the French team and stuff like that. Just like, I don't really see it, to be honest. I'd much rather have Sakai on the right-hand side.
On his defense, I think it was a very unpopular opinion in the bar last night. But in his defense, yes, he, like you said, he's missed a lot of passes and he missed pretty much everything he tried yesterday. But he was one of the players that actually took the ball and said, right, let's try to go forward, and like not trying to pass it back to Mandanda every time. He's the one that was trying to kick off these attacks, but nobody else was willing to actually go forward either. So he ended up being a lot of messy situations. He's missed a lot, but he's tried, and I think that's his credit because nobody else did.
So can I just bounce off that last comment about
sure.
About Sarr, being willing to go forward in that. What do you make of Ocampos? Because I can't hate him. I think his drive, his determination, it's amazing. It's a joy to be watched because he's just always trying. So at one point, it's like counter attack, and we like 3-on-2, and he's still then pacing it down the right wing. And if he could cross the ball, if he could just put his head up and cross the ball, we might have scored a goal. Then you know what I mean. And it's always his decision making is not quite there. So my question is, at what point does goodwill become, more important than skills? I want to get rid of Ocampos and get a Di Maria. I have Di Maria every day over Ocampos.
Absolutely, but we're not going to get Di Maria. So
no. I think Sakai just had an off night. Simple. I mean, he tried. He played okay, but he just had an off night really. Sarr, he was a bit irrelevant last night on the right, and Campos, he was just a very meh performance. It's just, I think.
Would you have him again next season? Would you want him in the lineup next season?
No, I'd like someone a bit fresher.
I agree.
So we kind of started talking about the fullbacks for some reason, but your original question was like the starting lineup, wasn't it?
Yeah. So just I was thinking also about what your thoughts were on the midfield, and actually, which brings me to one of the questions that one of the listeners sent in. We'll just talk about it now because I think it's relevant. They said that, do you think that Garcia made a mistake in leaving out Gustavo and Strootman because it felt like an extra more defensive midfielder could have made a big difference, and that was sent in from Connor. Do you agree with that?
Well, if you ask me Saturday night, I would have put the same team sheet on, right? But Garcia's mistake is not Saturday night. It's been 2 weeks before. You should have started putting Gustavo back in, putting Strootman back in, putting Payet back in to build yourself up for that game where you don't play in a 4-4-2 with Sanson and Lopez. You play in a 4-2-3-1 with Payet instead of Germain and either Gustavo or Strootman, whoever one's better, instead of Sanson. But he put himself between a rock and a hard place because he had to put the same lineup on Saturday because none of the people on the bench had any game time experience in the past months. So it's a wrong decision, but he had to put that team by default.
It's something that we did mention in the previous week's podcast about the fact that he hadn't blooded in some players like Strootman and Gustavo had been out of, he hadn't been out of the picture, over the last few weeks and hadn't had a lot of minutes, and whether or not he would bring them in for a big game, given that they're such experienced players. In hindsight, knowing the result, it does seem like that might have been a mistake.
Yeah, but I mean, credit to us, we didn't have. That's not 2020 hindsight. We've been saying that for 2 weeks, and you really see that you can. This problem really crystallized with the armband situation because your captain is Payet, right? But he's on a bench and you don't even bother to put him on. So the armband goes to Mandanda and then Thauvin and then Sanson. Since when are these guys leaders? So you should have put Payet earlier, and then he could have been put on during the game, and then he could have the armband and then lead the team to maybe a draw because it was 1-1 at the 60th minute. You
Absolutely.
could have drawn. You could have even won the game.
You know, when you look at the lineup that Paris Saint-Germain fielded, or at least the changes that happened in the first half that led to them withdrawing Dani Alves and Thomas Meunier. Had we played, and I'm not saying because I understand that Lopez and Sanson have played really well over the last few weeks, but in the 4-4-2 been getting victories. But if you on paper, if we'd seen a midfield of Strootman, Gustavo, Payet against that Paris Saint-Germain team with Thauvin and Balotelli up front, you would kind of fancy our chances, wouldn't you, to get a result? Because there's experienced players that have got proven quality. They're playing against a PSG that's not at their full strength.
I also think, when PSG made their changes, they stuck Keller on. Keller looked world class against us, and he was getting pummeled when he played Man United. I agree with your statement, Steph. I think you have experience with youth, and then at the same time you can put with Strootman and Gustavo, they can chase those balls and they can let Lopez think about what he wants to do next, so he's not panicking. Where's the ball? I've got to go and look for it.
I think maybe with a bit more experience in the middle of the pitch, we could have prevented the first goal. So when Di Maria does that amazing touch, you just needed someone to kick him in the shins or something like that, even if you take the yellow, But
seriously, you've got to do it at the right times, isn't it? You need to know when to foul and how to foul.
Yeah.
But I think Gustavo and Strootman would know exactly when to do that,
Absolutely.
But Ben can vouch for that because, from that corner, before the corner, because that was our corner in the 47th minute, I said it's gonna be a counter, and the first PSG player that gets the ball, you need to break his shins. And as soon as they got the ball, I was screaming. I was literally screaming, foul him. And then when Mbappe got the ball, then it's too late. You can't foul him anymore.
Too late. Yeah.
And there was a few PSG fans as well. They felt the whole game. They were like, "Oh, kick his shins," making fun of me. And I was like, "Our players are so stupid. You could see this from a mile away. Just foul him.
I'm not advocating for that. I mean, I think that's quite brutal. But yeah, I agree. You need to be able to foul people at the right moments, in the right way. But we don't. Yeah, but we don't want to be breaking anyone's shins, especially not Kylian Mbappe. We need him for France as well.
Yeah, the keep would run a 10-page spread on it. Look, even if it's just stamping on them when the ball's out of play, just do it for goodness sake.
It's the 47th minute. You have nothing to lose, especially when you see the actual chance where Sarr and Lopez clearly didn't have enough energy anymore to run to make another sprint back, which is why Mbappe was so open. If you know that, then just foul him. If you know you don't have it in the locker anymore, foul him.
Yeah. I think these matches against Paris Saint-Germain, they do repeatedly seem to put us in a position where we're really reflecting where the project's going. And if you look at the last game before that against Paris Saint-Germain in October, I believe, if I remember correctly, we had a very similar performance in the first sort of hour of the match, and that Paris Saint-Germain were not at their top, but we kind of looked frightened and unable to capitalise on that. Do you see that as becoming a bit of a pattern in these sort of games under the current management?
Becoming a bit of a norm, I think. It's just the project was supposed to produce Champions League football. When is it third or fourth year now? Or I don't think we're going to get it. Honestly, Lyon are running away. Lille are too far ahead. I think we're done for. We needed to get at least something out of that game. We weren't going to win, that's for sure. But for goodness sake, a point could have been achieved. Now, well, we're just going to hope, but I don't see it happening.
I wish we had seen something else from our players. Just a little bit of determination, I guess. A little bit of will to just win it, Even if we had lost it and they had given it the all, then I would have been happy. But it looked like we accepted our fate, and we kind of knew we were going to lose it. You know what I mean? It's just and that's not right. But the thing is, and it's something that comes up very often when I talk about OM with my mates and stuff, is Garcia is not the worst manager. None of us want him, but he's not the worst. But the thing that's not great about him is he always loses against other big teams, and it was the case when he was playing for managing Roma. And now he's in Marseille. We lose against Lyon. We lost against Monaco when they were shit hot, and we always lose against Paris. It's just psychologically, just can't make the players, get to that next level. Yeah. And I don't think, obviously, I listened to a few shows and podcasts in France about Marseille. I don't think any of the journalists ever asked the players what is being said in a changing room before the game or at halftime. We don't really know. How does he motivate his players?
Well, we see some snippets, of Objective Match, the obviously the club version of how the week's gone in training and stuff, and they did show a bit of the pre-game talk after the Nice game when Gus was talking about the PSG game, and he was like, "This was very good, guys, but we have a game next week, and hopefully we can get a result and stuff." Hopefully you can get a result.
Results.
What are you talking about? But the problem comes from higher above. After the first leg game in October, the first half was great from Garcia. Aero, who comes out and says, "I saw warriors on the pitch." What are you guys seeing that we're not? Like, who are you trying to fool? Who are you trying to fool?
Must be some very strong cocaine consumed in the Marseille director's box.
No doubt, absolutely no doubt. I think Labrin left some.
It's straight from the old port. Yeah, they must have the connections.
Yeah, just some final points in the game. In the lineup in the match. Do you think that going forward that there's anything that we'll take from this result and we'll use it to improve in these sort of set matches in the future?
Absolutely none. I think we put all our hope on beating Lyon in the 36th match day. We're not going to beat Lyon. We're not. Okay. We cannot buy a win against the top 5 of this league, and we're not going to start on the third to last game of the season. We're just not. The only takeaway point that I've gained is, at the end of the season, I will have no regrets selling Thauvin. I'll take the money and I'll run it.
Oh wow!
I like our 2 centre backs. I thought the centre backs, although they're quite young, I thought they looked quite composed. I thought they looked okay last night. Yeah. So I like that. I'm a bit worried about Gustavo. I'm quite fond of the guy. I'm quite fond of the character. I thought his first season was a complete outstanding, and I just wonder if he's going to leave. There's something a bit off about him being benched so often. So that worries me. But as far as the starting 11 goes, I would just keep the 2 at the back, really.
Really? So you would happily get rid of anyone else?
I'm worried about Balotelli staying. I tell you what, I've got glimpses of what the future can hold for us if we keep him. Just that walking, that running when the ball doesn't get to his feet and stuff like that. I just want someone who's good but also works a little bit harder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we always knew that was the case with Balotelli, that he was that kind of player, that he's got ability, but he can be lazy and ineffective in some matches, But
I can really see the Velodrome turning against him. Absolutely. That kind of attitude can only go so far. You know what I mean? It's just at one point, he's going to have an off game and the entire stadium is going to go mad.
If you look at his records in different clubs, quite often the case that he starts off very well and then he kind of sort of peters out and he starts losing the sort of drive to keep up those performances.
We knew what we were getting anyway. But before I make my talking point, I'd like to apologise for saying we can get Champions League football. I'd like to apologise. One takeaway, I feel that Germain played well. Germain scored a good goal, I thought.
That's true, actually. Yeah.
The fair credit to the guy. I mean, we give him a lot of stick, but he performed. But no, there's no real talking point apart from the fact this will now be using the PSG highlights reel every time they play.
We are not compatible after that comment. This is not. I can't support your statement of saying Germain played good last night.
He played okay. He played better than Balotelli. He played better than Thauvin.
Oh yeah, but I mean, what would you prefer, the Colorado or the Plague? They were all shocking, and I think, and his goal, the goal comes from a deflected pass by Ocampos and a deflected shot by Germain. Like, come on, it's not really his doing that he scored. He was just happened to be on the end of the shot.
Yeah, but I think in Germain's defence, throughout the game, he's one player that looks like he's trying to get the ball, he's trying to move around, he's trying to make things happen. Whereas one of the things that was evident from last night was the performance was quite flat from a lot of players. They just didn't seem that drive to push the ball forward. And you can't fault Germain for his work ethic and for his attitude. And which is why he got the goals, because he pushed through to appear in the right position at the right time.
Okay, yeah. But I mean, a workhorse is so good in team, but how many workhorses do we have? So we have Sakai now, we have Sarr, we have Ocampos, now we have Germain. Like, can we have some actual players?
Well, I guess that's the thing with Germain and Balotelli, isn't it? They're the absolute polar opposites. You know, Germain's got the work rate, but not the ability, and Balotelli's got the ability, but none of the work rate.
And the work rate, yeah.
Right. Okay. So I think we've probably said enough about OM PSG last night, and I quite gladly move on because it's not a fun topic, is it? But
it's a pretty grim one.
Yeah. I just want to look forward to the next match, which is at home against Angers, and it's actually not this weekend because of the international break. It's actually I think it's on the 30th of March. We're at home on the Saturday. What are your thoughts on that match?
I reckon it's going to be Angers winning. I've got a horrible feeling. Angers...
come on. No way.
Hang on. Angers will be really revved up. They'll be like, okay, their heads are down. Plus international break. We don't know how many injuries we're going to get. I've got a horrible feeling Angers are going to come to the Velodrome and they're going to win off a fluky goal in the 93rd minute. And we're going to look like utter tools on Canal Football Club.
Yeah, but I mean, Angers are not a big team, but I'm looking at their recent fixtures now. In the last 8 games, they've got 13 points out of the possible 24. They beat Nice, they drew against Monaco, they drew against Montpellier away. They beat Strasbourg away. Like, they're not as bad as we might think they are.
No.
And they I can totally see, just like last year when we played Angers at home, winning 1-0 for a while, and then they equalise in the 90th minute, and then Garcia will just say, you know what, it's not all that bad. We still have 7 games to go. We can still technically get over PSG. I can see it like happening really easily.
I think we're gonna win it. I think we're gonna win it by like 2 or 3 goals.
No, we're not.
I'm in that. I'm actually serious. I thought we're gaining some momentum. Fucking Angers we're talking about, you know what I mean? It's just like, it's a home game as well. We obviously need to make a few changes to starting 11, but there's no way we can lose against Angers.
Yeah.
Just League One football is shit. It's shocking.
There will be changes.
When you looked at the bench, the Marseille bench last night, and you compare it to the Paris bench, it looks like we're, top of the league.
Absolutely. I had the same thought, in last night's match. I saw the bench and I looked at Paris Saint-Germain's bench and I thought, on paper, we look stronger here.
Completely.
On paper, we're the second best team in the league, easily.
I think we're going to win every home game until the end of the season. The only one that is a bit contentious might be the Lyon game, but every other one is a guaranteed win.
This is just I agree with you. I think all of the next games, even Lyon, it is winnable, but we don't go into games with the right mindset into big games, and we have I don't know. I don't even know what to say anymore. We don't know what we can expect on the match day. Are we going to get players that actually want to win and get the chase Lyon, or are we going to get the usual thing of dominating for 30 minutes and then trying to dominate by keeping possession but conceding chances, and maybe Angers will score, and if they score, I don't see us getting back up. I think we could win 3-0, just like we could draw 1-0.
All laughs aside, Quinton, I hope you're correct. But we've also got to hope results go our way. Let's be honest. Do you think the opposition teams to Lyon or Lille are going to play down to the opposite side to see Marseille get the Champions League? I'm not too sure. I really don't.
So, guys, I want your predictions on the score for OM Angers.
It's going to be a 3-0 victory for us. 3-0 win.
Okay. Ed?
If all goes well, 2-0 to us. If we play
I thought we were going to lose.
No, hold on. I'm not finished. I'm not finished. If we play like donkeys, then in the first half, then we'll lose 2-0.
Right. Okay. Luca?
Yeah, so I see us making some Garcia Classic wholesale changes because we lost to PSG. I think we're going to change to a 4-2-3-1, bring Payet and Strootman and Gustavo and Amavi, and I think we'll win 1-0.
Okay, right. Well, I don't know how I feel. I'm a bit wary of Angers. I think they're quite a difficult team to play. They remind me a little bit of Guingamp a couple of years ago. They're quite
We're
unorthodox.
talking about Guingamp. It's fucking Angers. Come on, guys.
I know,
It's
but they're
Angers.
just these sort of teams are just they're just tough to beat. You know,
Yeah.
sometimes
And they're
they
on
can,
form.
yeah, and they're good at producing shocks. And we might be a bit vulnerable after the defeat last night. I don't know.
Yeah, a little
That's just
bit.
my thoughts. But we've got the international break, so I mean, hopefully that can give us a bit of time to sort of regroup and forget what's
3-0.
happened.
3-0. Mark my words.
Right. Just very briefly on the international break, any players that you think that have been called up by their respective countries that might benefit?
I think NG for Cameroon is going to be a proper coming out.
Yeah, he's going to absolutely destroy them.
Yeah.
I
Cameroon
think,
have real potential with NG and Choupo-Moting up front. I think they could do some damage.
oh yeah, Cameroon will piss it. I think. I really think Balotelli can put some performances for Italy if he's going to be picked. Is he in the Italian
not.
squad?
I don't think
not.
he was picked. No.
Oh,
Who
Who is up? Because Sakai is not playing for Japan either. So
Is,
who's actually going out for the international break?
Is Kaleta Carr in the Croatian squad?
You know what? Let me check it right now. I think Torvan's not going to play a minute. That's for sure.
Definitely,
Yeah.
never does.
Apologies about the Italy mistake. I didn't know Balotelli was not in the squad.
Yeah, he's not.
Okay.
Mandanda, he's been called up for France, yeah? Has he?
Yeah, deserved.
But he'll not play a minute either, will he?
No, he won't. He won't.
Nah, it's just there to finish the leftovers.
As Rami, I guess Rami hasn't been picked, has he?
No, he hasn't.
No, he hasn't this time.
Of
No.
course not.
But, yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, and we're not expecting anything too positive then, are we, from the international break?
Yeah, we do have some. So Chatacha has been picked. So has Nemanja Radonic.
Oh, nice.
Strootman too, and then we have Maxim Lopez for the under-21s and Boubacar Kamara for the under-20s.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
they
good.
could benefit from that. Yeah, the last two.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, they're playing all right anyway right now, but it's the rest of the guys that aren't. Okay, so let's move on to just a couple of news stories quickly that have sort of popped up over the last week. Firstly, I don't know if you saw, there was reports in the press just before the PSG game that OM fans were told not to come to the match because there was a fear that they would incite the PSG ultras. How do you feel about that?
It's a bit weak-minded. I mean, can you imagine if it was in England where Arsenal fans were told not to go to White Hart Lane or wherever the new ground is and say, do not go to their ground, you might insult them by saying we want it at your ground over the Invincibles. It's pathetic, really. They're not going to turn up and smash Paris up. It's not like, look, there may be a few bad apples, but is there anything wrong with having away fans? No. It's just a long trip for them and they're going to get a bad result. But that's football for you.
Yeah, well, I think we shouldn't really look too much into the actual reasoning. I mean, we all know there's a lot of problems with the government at the moment and how they handle supporters. And I think they just chose that reason because, why not? Why not? They will do anything at this point, the authorities, the local authorities, to prevent away fans from going to games. So, I don't think that's a genuine reason. I think it's a pathetic reason, but I don't think it's genuine. I think they just don't want to deal with the fans. It's as simple as that.
Yeah. It's a joke, really. I think the whole atmosphere of a football game includes the away supporters. If you don't have the away supporters, it kind of dictates away from the atmosphere.
Yeah, I agree. And I think giving a reason like that to actually successfully prevent away fans from going is pathetic. And I think that should just be illegal. You can't just say they're going to make fun of them, so let's prevent 2,000 fans from going to a football game.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if this was like somewhere in UK or Germany or Italy, there'd be riots. It's ridiculous. I think French fans have got a tough trek anyway, get from one side of the country to the other. No, it takes hours in a car and flights and all that stuff. Now they're going to be told you can't go into the ground because you might insult the home supporters. It's ridiculous.
You've got a decent rail system, though. What's better than here?
Yeah.
Right, so another story that came up was I think there was reported losses I think, of 75 million or something like that
Yeah.
to the DNCG. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, these were official numbers released by OM publicly, so definitely that's for sure. 76 million net losses from the 2017-2018 season, despite the Europa League final. It is a bit surprising, and I wonder what the DNCG is going to do now, because I heard one of the journalists who really is quite hot on the Marseille finances, and he said that agreement last year between the UEFA and Marseille, about just a warning and no actual financial sanctions. It was just a gentleman's agreement. But since we've broken the rule again, I don't know whether we're actually going to get some tougher losses. But I don't expect anything more than just a fine.
Yeah.
What kind of amount? What are we talking about? If we are to be fined, what kind of is it? Like, I don't know, 10,000, 10 million?
I'm not sure. No, I'm not sure this year. But last year they were talking about just a 300,000 fine.
Okay.
But about last year. But if it's a second offence, I don't know how much it's going to rack up to.
Okay.
Well, it's a bit of a worry if you're Frank McCourt, if you've got 76 million losses, considering how much he's invested. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's just...
Yeah, but he's not in for the football. He's in it for the property around the stadium and around the park channel.
Yeah.
So I think he knew about it. But I mean, what do you guys expect is going to happen from that thing? Do you think they're going to kick us out of European football?
No, I worry
After
that
Milan and
the
PSG.
The financial fair play is a lot of BS, to be honest.
Yeah.
There's a lot of noise and then nothing really happens. I mean, a lot of the top clubs have been like threatened, with financial sanctions and stuff, but it doesn't seem to have any real effect.
But that's a different matter. This is coming from the DNCG, and if I remember a few years ago, I think the season when we sold Mbula and Mendy, that was 2 different seasons. But the season when I believe it was the season after Bielsa was there, and we came fourth, we had to sell players by the end of June. Is that
because I think it was like the 21st of June we had to sell like 40 million. But again, rules are always bent. Lille was supposed to sell 60 million of players by the end of June last year. They didn't. What happened? They're second of the league now.
Yeah. Right. Well, I think we'll move on from that. Hopefully, the financial situation improves or stabilizes, and it doesn't have too much of an impact on the actual squad. Or maybe it's better that we get rid of all the players, given them shite.
No, yeah, they will. Yeah, but I think they're going to change philosophy. I've heard rumors of they're going to stop like short-term gains by signing 28, 29-year-olds, and they're just going to start doing some scouting, like obviously Montpellier, Lyon, and stuff, doing some post formation and trying to buy like 23-year-olds that they know for sure they're not going to have big wages and not going to lose money on.
It's about time they start doing that.
Yeah. Right. So, a couple of last things to mention. So it's kind of getting to that time of year where we're starting to see transfer news, sort of rumours appearing. So we've been linked to a couple of players this week. One of the players was Yacine Brahimi of Porto. He's available on a free transfer. A lot of clubs after him. Do you think it's realistic?
No.
I don't really want him, to be honest.
Nah.
No, neither.
No.
Why not?
I don't know. It's just, I don't know. It's been in the game for too long. I want some, fresh blood.
He is 29, isn't he now? So he's not a lot left in him. Yeah.
I want like a young Argentinian, a young Brazilian that no one's heard of.
Like Lucas Ocampos.
Luis Suarez, mate.
Yeah, well done. But yeah, well, something like that. Maybe not. But the thing, Lucas Ocampos, when he signed, he was Monaco in League Two.
Yeah.
And he was the biggest transfer ever for like a League Two player, wasn't it? So I don't mind if we gamble on a young player and if it doesn't pay off. I just want to see that risk taking.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, I made fun of you for Lucas Ocampos, but I mean, we signed him for 8 million. I think he was good. It's a good value for money.
If I remember when we signed him, like everyone was really excited about him because he was seen as a huge prospect at Monaco and when he was at River Plate. Yeah. So we all were actually under the impression that he was going to be a great player. Well, most of us were, but
For 8 million, he's given you 16 goals last season, and 3 important ones.
I can remember at the time, like on some of the fan forums, like everyone was talking about, oh my God, we've got Tovan, Ocampos, and Batshuayi. In a couple of years, our forward line's going to be unbelievable. It didn't work out, you know. Speaking of young players, because you talked about wanting young players, we've actually been linked with a young prospect for Sochaux called Agumi. I don't know how to pronounce his name.
Agume, yeah.
Agume. I don't know if any of you have seen him. There's some videos on YouTube and stuff worth checking out.
I did after I saw the transfer news. The thing is, I mean, I can only go by what I've read about the kid, you know, and apparently he's a new Pogba, since he's been dubbed.
Yeah.
But I haven't seen him play. I can't really tell whether he's a good one or not.
Absolutely.
I don't know if you guys watch a lot of League 2 football, but it's really hard to predict, you know. And the thing with Marseille is you've got like dozens of transfer rumours all year round, really.
Absolutely, yeah. So you got to take them with a pinch of salt, haven't you? But
yeah, I think for youth players, I usually refer myself to you might know him. His Kevin Kribish and Bastien Fodo. They have a specific interest in youth team, and I talked to him about what he thought about Agume since the rumor happened, and he said like obviously his rise to fame has been really quick this year. He's already played 12 games for Sochaux at only 17 years old, and he's just been called up to the under-18 French team. And obviously that's raised a lot of media spark, and he's been linked with all kinds of teams with Barcelona, PSG, Lyon, Juve, Manchester City, Manchester United, blah, 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 and so on.
Mm-hmm.
But he said like there is a spark. He's a central midfielder, and he's a box-to-box, and there is a spark. But it's not really realistic for us to really look at him because he's so mediatized at the moment that we're never gonna get him, plain and simple.
Okay. Just last one there about these transfer rumours that have come up this week. So Valentin Rongier from Nantes has said that he's talked about being linked with Marseille in the past, been in contact with them. Do you think that he's a player that you'd like to see at Marseille, or do you think that he's a player that we don't need?
He's probably just going to be squad space.
Yeah. Do you know who Rongier reminds me of?
Who?
Of Sanson when he played for Montpellier.
Yeah, I agree.
True.
These players are great Ligue 1 players, but Marseille is a different atmosphere, and it can literally crush someone. And Rongier has been linked for about 2 years with Marseille, and it never really happened, even though he has sent some messages saying, like, I would like to come. But who have we got? Is he qualitatively better than Strootman or Gustavo or Lopez or Sanson? All of them are arguable, so why would you bring in a fifth midfielder?
I think I would only bring him on if Gustavo leaves and we sell another one, so Sanson or Lopez.
He's quite a
it would make
player,
sense.
Yeah.
It would make sense to strengthen that part of the squad, but at the moment, it's like Ed said, it's just squad space, really.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. Just to finish off, we've just got a couple of questions that were sent in from listeners, and I think you've probably already answered them, but one of them came from John, and it's pretty brutal. It says, "Is there a pilot on board?"
No, I think plain. I mean, who are you talking about? About the coach or about the higher direction?
I think it's to do with the running of the club. Yeah.
So, like, you're talking about Aero and Zubizarreta and stuff.
It's not clear to me. It says, "Is there a pilot on board?" I mean, someone who knows what's going on.
All right, yeah. So I think
what
I'll take
about
that
this
more
crazy
as,
lineup? I think it's aimed at all levels of management, but
yeah, I think I take that as in to be Garcia. About is there anyone to actually make any decisions with the club? And I think right now, I think Garcia's completely burnt out with his decision and his confidence. I think he's lost a lot of the key players in his team. And it shows by not putting them on during the games, and he's trying to just convince himself that playing the winning team is the right solution when there is clearly better options. I think he's just going with emotions now until the end of the season, and he'll go.
Yeah, the pilots seem to be reaching the back and getting the parachutes and getting ready to jump out the exit door.
Yeah,
that's just the way I see it. I don't think there really is a pilot. There needs to be. I know I keep banging on about this. There needs to be a tappy star figure in there, and there needs to be a Goppel star coach, like a man's coach, who can really motivate the team but not be too harsh on them.
Yeah.
It's funny that you mentioned that because we were looking yesterday at the article that's in Get French Football News about René Malvi, and he talks a lot about Tapi, about his ability to find the right kind of players with the right sort of attitude and stuff for OM. It's definitely worth a read. Actually, he talks a lot about some of the old days and the difference in the running in the club as well compared to the president that we have now, or presidents we've had over the years.
I think Tapi was very, very Marseille compatible. And the last president I can think of that was, of the same caliber is Diouf. Although he does my nut in now. Speaking publicly about Marseille and stuff like this. He's still part of the club. It's just like, just move on, dude.
Absolutely.
I used to love him. When he'd step in and just give everyone else a bit of a lip and stuff. I was just like, the guy's great. And I think Ero is a bit too quiet. If you're talking about top management, I'm not sure he's the right character for Marseille.
Yeah. It's even worse than too quiet. He's too quiet. He's completely dead silent during the bad times, and during the good times he overcompensates. And it's toxic to be just to see him on social media now with these Viber conversations. But when we lose, there's no Viber community drop-in sessions. It's only when we win that there is that, and it's just this inconsistency that is just he's not the right man for the job, but he's not going to go. Do you really think they will finish fourth? Both Garcia and him are leaving.
Yeah. Okay. Last question for tonight. Sent in from Eric. It says, what can be sacrificed in the squad to find a bit of change?
A couple of midfielders so we can get another striker in.
Yeah. So you would get rid of a couple of midfielders. You wouldn't replace them, or?
Well, we've got three. I think we've got two. We've got two very capable ones. If not, we'll just play another centre back in. But we need a goal scorer. Goals win your games. It's simple as.
Yeah. Do you don't think Balotelli fits that bill?
Balotelli can, but we need someone to back him up. He can't do all the work on his own.
Yeah. But I mean, you don't necessarily have to kick people out, because naturally, at the end of this season, you're going to have a lot of big wages that are just naturally going to leave due to expiring contracts. You have Abdenur, Ibokan, Sertic, Rolando, who's coming up. So, without having to kick out any actual talent, you're going to have some free wage to spend money on.
I don't even know how you remembered any of these guys were still playing for Marseille.
I've got them in my memory, and I have nightmares about them every time I go to sleep.
I think it'd be easier. It'd be a shorter answer if the question was, who would you keep rather than who would you sacrifice? To be honest,
I don't know. I don't really agree with that. I know we've lost against PSG, but not everyone is to throw away. We have a great squad, good enough with a good coach to finish second. Clearly, when you look at our bench and our starting 11. So I don't think we should throw away everyone, but there's definitely some players with the wrong mentality at the club. And end of cycles, maybe. I think Mandanda clearly is the end of his journey. Payet looks like he's nearing the end of his journey. I think there's a lot of players on the end of it.
It's disappointing because we have actually just rebuilt a whole squad in the last couple of years. And we're already talking about rebuilding it again. That's pure planning, isn't it?
They are
classic Marseille, isn't it?
4 players that I would keep tops, and
who?
That's me. The 2 centre backs. They're hot prospects, good for the future. I probably keep Sanson or Lopez, so one of the two. And you're not gonna like that, but I probably keep Germain as well.
You can't let go of Germain, can you?
I think he's not perfect, but he's got great football IQ. He doesn't mind being sat on the bench. I like his mentality. I think he's a good club player, but everyone else I would just get rid of.
Yeah, maybe. Well, Stefan, can I bring on my own listeners' question for you guys to answer?
Of course you can.
Yeah, sure.
Next year, with Radonjic, would you loan him out, or would you try to actually give him a real chance?
I'd give him a real chance. He did all right for us when he played. I think let's give him a go. Let's see what we can do. We talk about wanting fresh blood in the side. He's fresh blood. Stick him in. Let's see what he can do.
Yeah, I'm with Ed on that. Give him a chance.
I'm undecided about that. I think it depends who we bring in the summer, whether we're building a team for European football or not, whether we're in the Europa League or even the Champions League, although I don't think that's going to happen. I think it all depends. But if we've got an ambitious season lined up, then I hope that we bring in a top left winger and that we are able to keep Tovan on the right, and then I would happily loan him out. But if not, and we're planning for another season in Ligue 1 and nothing else, then why not give him a chance, So I think with that, we'll finish up tonight, guys. Thank you very much for taking part.
Cheers, boys.
Cheers, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. And thanks very much for listening and for sending in your questions. We'll get back to you with another podcast before the OM Angers game in a couple of weeks' time. Good night.
Good night.
Good night, guys.
Good night.